here. Today we're going to be working on one of my new pre-fall patterns, 8177, and we're going to be sewing the pants, view C. Now if you're new to sewing or you just need a little refresher course, make sure and watch the sewing basics video linked in the description box below. I cover all sorts of things like picking your pattern size, cutting out your tissue paper, reading all the instructions that are printed on your actual pattern, how to cut your fabric, how to read grain lines, and a whole lot of other useful information. Watch that video, then come back and sew along with me. Okay, great. Now we're going to work on view C, which is my amazing pants. I love these pants so much. Make sure to read the back of your envelope for fabric options. Let's go over the pieces you're going to need to have cut. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 7, which is the back of our pants, and you're going to be cutting out 2 of fabric. You're also going to cut out pattern piece number 6, which is the front of our pants, and you're also going to be cutting out 2 of fabric. You're also going to need to cut out pattern piece number 11, which is our underlap, and you're going to be cutting out 1 of fabric. You're also going to need to cut out pattern piece number 8, which is our yoke front, and you're going to be cutting out 4 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. You're also going to cut out pattern piece number 9, which is the back of our yoke, and you're going to cut 4 of fabric and 2 of interfacing. And lastly, you're going to cut out pattern piece number 10, which is the fly, and you're going to cut 1 of fabric and 1 of interfacing. You're also going to cut out pattern piece number 12, which is the carrier, our belt loops. Now that I have all of my pieces cut and interfaced, we can start sewing. We're going to start with the 2 backs, and as you can see, I've already done my stay stitching, and I went ahead and did and pressed my darts, so go ahead and do that. And then we're going to grab our front pieces, and I also stay stitched the top, and now we're going to fold and sew our pleats. So you're going to bring each broken line on that pattern to the center and pin, and then bring the other line to the center and pin. And now we're going to stitch across the top to hold it in place, and you're going to fold your other pleat in the same way. Okay, once you have your pleats made, you're going to lay your front over your back, right sides facing, and we're going to pin along the entire side seam of our pants. So make sure that you pin at your notch first, and then we're going to pin all the way down our leg. I want you to pin both front to backs the same way, and then we're going to stitch all the way down the sides using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. You're going to sew your other pant legs the same way. Okay, I want you to go ahead and press your seams flat and open. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay our opened pant legs on top of each other, right sides facing. And we're going to pin our center back. So your center back has 3 notches, so make sure to pin at your notch. And pin at the top. And we're going to stitch from the very top until about an inch or so past our notch. We're going to back stitch and stop. Now I want you to grab your 2 back yoke pieces, and with right sides facing, you're going to pin along the center back the way I did here. Your center back has 3 notches. That's how you know that you have the right pieces. And we're going to sew using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now press your seam open. Now I want you to grab your front interfaced pieces, and we're going to place them right sides facing and pinning at the sides. Your sides have one notch. So we're going to pin front to back at the side. And we're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, we're going to go ahead and fold and press our carrier, which is going to create the 4 belt loops. So what you're going to do first is you want to fold it in half and press it. And then you want to bring each end to the middle and press. And then you're going to fold it again onto itself and you're going to press. Once we have it all pressed, we're going to stitch along the very edge. Okay, now we're going to cut this in half, and then we're going to cut each piece in half. So we end up with 4 belt loops. So grab your yoke, and we're going to first put them on the back. So I'm going to grab one, trim this off here, and we're going to pin it to the dots. Now you might not be able to see my dots, but I can see them. You should be able to see your dots. So I'm going to fold in about 1/2 inch. I'm going to place it at my dot and I'm going to pin. And then I'm going to fold under again and I'm going to place it the other end on my other dot and I'm going to pin it. And then we're going to stitch across and we're going to do the same thing for all the loops. You're going to attach the rest of your belt loops the same way. Okay, once we have all 4 belt loops stitched down, we're going to set this aside. And as you can see, I have my center fronts laying on top of each other, right sides facing. And I created a stay stitching line right from my notch. So I went up 1 inch from the notch and down 1 inch from the notch, just on the left hand side. That's just to reinforce this crotch area. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and pin at my notch, and you should have a dot here that you transferred, and I'm going to pin at my dot. And we're going to stitch from the dot until we get to our notch. We're going to stitch this down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. I want you to back stitch at the beginning and I want you to back stitch at the notch. We want to make sure that this is secure. And now only on the left side, the side that you created that stay stitching on, you're going to snip that notch until you reach your stitching. Don't go past your stitching. Like this. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and attach our yoke to our pants at the waist. So this is my center front, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin first, right sides facing. So I want to lay my yoke over the top and I'm going to pin my center back seams first. So align the center back seam of your yoke to the center back seam of your pants and pin there first. And then I want you to pin your side seams, so match those up and do the same thing on the other side. And then continue pinning. Align that notch. There should be a notch on your yoke and on your pants. And now we're going to stitch all the way around using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, we're going to start at the center back. We're going to sew all the way to the center front, and then we're going to do the same thing, starting again at the center back and going in the other direction to the center front. Okay, now that we have our yoke attached, I want you to do what I just did. So I want you to press your seams open, and then you're going to trim your bottom seam allowance to 1/4 inch. And then we're going to attach our fly. So I'm going to turn my pants right side out for just a sec. And now we're going to attach the fly front to the left side. So I went ahead and finished my fly, so you should finish it either with a serge or a zigzag, or you can turn under 1/4 inch and stitch. And now I'm going to pin, matching my notches and my dot. So your fly front and your pants should have a double notch there. And we're going to pin at our dot, so make sure your dots should match up. You should have a dot on your fly and a dot on your pants, and that's where we're going to stop stitching. So we're going to go to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch from our dot all the way up using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, we're going to stitch down our fly, so I want you to make sure that the rest of your pants is out of the way. The only thing that you're sewing on right now should be the left hand side of your pants and your fly. And we're going to put our needle in right where our dot is. And you're going to back stitch and then sew all the way up. And now we're going to trim off our seam allowance to 1/4 inch just above our dot. Okay, I want you to go ahead and press your fly the way that I have here, and your seam allowance should be facing your fly, and we're going to understitch. So you're going to be stitching close to the edge, only on the fly. Okay, now we're going to lay our zipper with our zipper pull face down, and you want it to extend at least 7/8 of an inch above. I'm going to do it just a little bit more so I can keep my zipper pull out of the way while I'm sewing. And I want you to extend the left side of your zipper tape about 1/4 inch over your seam here that you see. And then I want you to pin. And now we're going to stitch on the right side of our zipper tape. So we're going to stitch down all the way from the top to the bottom, and then we're going to stitch again close to the edge. I've switched out my presser foot and put in my zipper foot. And so I'm going to go ahead and stitch starting at the bottom, back stitch, now we're going to do that again, but we're going to stitch closer to the edge of our zipper tape. Okay, now I want you to go ahead and push your fly down towards the bottom, and we're going to fold and press the other side of our center front 3/8 of an inch. Okay, once you have that 3/8 of an inch pressed along the other side of your center front, go ahead and open your zipper. And now we're going to stitch the pressed edge onto the other side of the zipper. And now we're going to pin this in place. And the folded edge of your front should be right along your zipper. Continue pinning. Now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to sew close to the edge. Okay, now starting at the top, we're going to sew close to the edge. Okay, you're going to go ahead and check your zipper, so open it up. The left side is going to overlap the front, so that's supposed to be like that. And then just make sure that both your seam lines align here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and fold our underlap in half. And go ahead and edge finish it, and then we're going to attach it to our fly. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pin our underlap to the right side of our zipper, and we're going to sew through all thicknesses now. Then go ahead and open your zipper, and we're going to turn our fly out the way that you see it here, and then we're going to turn it onto itself like this, so right sides are facing, and we're going to stitch across the top. Okay, I want you to sew the other pieces of your yoke the same way that we did our interfaced yoke, and we're going to attach this to our yoke. Go ahead and finish the raw edge. With right sides facing, I'm going to pin at my center back first. Make sure you are aligning your seams. I want you to pivot when we get to this corner. And continue stitching down. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and clip our corner. Turn this to the inside, push out your corners. And now you're going to understitch as far as you can all the way around your yoke, making sure your seam allowances are facing the lining of your yoke. Okay, now that we have sewn down our yoke and we have understitched it, there's a couple things left to do. So you're going to hand baste your fly to your yoke. I'm just going to pin mine for now. You can do that on your own a little later. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my underlap completely out of the way, and I'm going to pin it because we're going to do our top stitching. And I don't want this to get caught. So now we're going to turn our pants right side out. Okay, now you might not be able to see it, but I have my top stitching line that I need to sew marked onto my pants. If you did not transfer this from your tissue paper, go ahead and grab your tissue paper, lay it over the top, and then just mark your top stitching for your fly. We're just going to follow that guide and sew it down. Okay, once your top stitching is done, you can go ahead and remove these pins. And there's a couple things that you're going to do on your own. You're going to go ahead and apply that hook and eye to the very top. And then on the inside, what I want you to do is I want you to pin and slip stitch your underlap to your fly just at this little corner. Just take a couple stitches to it. You want to make sure that these stay together, so when you open your fly, this is what shows as the underlap. So you want to go ahead and finish that. Now that we've finished our fly front, we're going to go ahead and pin our inseams. Okay, I turned my pants wrong side out, and so now what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that you lay your pant leg over each other, front to back of course, and right sides facing, and you're going to pin first at that notch and then along the entire inseam. You're going to pin both inseams the same exact way. Then we're going to stitch down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Stitch the other seam the same way. Okay, now we have to close our crotch, so we have an opening here. So go ahead and first match up your inseam seam lines, and then continue pinning. And we're going to start where we had stopped stitching and then continue until we meet the other stitching line. Back stitch at both the front and the back. Okay, now we're almost done. We have sewn our inseam, we've closed our crotch, and now we're going to press up our hem. So I'm going to turn my pant leg wrong side out, and I'm going to press up my hem allowance along that fold line. I'm going to measure to make sure that I'm folding up as much as I need to. You're going to fold, press, and then we're going to stitch around our hem, and then we're going to fold again and create our cuff. Do this for both pant legs. Now I want you to turn your pant leg to the inside, and you're going to fold up your hem, and I'm going to stitch mine down just a tad on each side, and then I'm going to press it. And do the other side seam just past my stitching line. Now you can press your cuff all the way around, and you're going to finish your other pant leg the same exact way. Now you're all done. I hope you've enjoyed this sew along. Until next time, peace.